Welcome back to the classroom, guys. I am Mark Obra, your instructor once again. And tonight we're going to talk about a few more organizational commands. Now, we do have only 12 minutes left, but these are a little bit related to one another. So we'll see if we can go through around 8 commands within 12 minutes. It's doubtful, but we shall see. Let's head on over to the classroom and check it out. Okay, timer is here and it has started. So right here we have the same sort of situation that we had last time when we discussed AutoCAD. And we have here two different uh, entities with different properties. So the next command is match prop, which is basically matching properties. So what this command does is it allows you to copy over properties of one uh, entity to another. It doesn't copy all of them, of course. It retains the structure of the uh, target. It basically copies layer, line type, and color. So those three are very important because these allow you to control eventually what happens using color. So the command for match property is MA, which turns up here, match prop. So since we have already selected our entity first, uh, we are now going to select the destination object. So if I didn't mention this before, in CAD, you can do that, either select the entity and then command, or command and then select the entity. So it works both ways. Now we also have something called group, which allows us to move entities together. So we have two here. Let's select them both and then group them. Group. So right now we have an unnamed group created over here. And what happens is if we select that, you can see that there's a box that denotes that this is a group. And when we do operations on them, like for example, if we wanted to rotate it, it rotates together as a group. So their relationship with each other is in terms of spatial placement and orientation are always connected within a command or manipulation command. So this is one of the methods of creating or selecting multiple items at once, but you can also block items together. So let's copy this over, explode it. So explode, wait, okay. So it says here that one was not able to explode, but we actually have them on different. Oh, I see. The circle remained in the group. Hmm. You don't want that. Let's see if there's an ungroup command. All right, so there we go. So now we have again the circle and the polyline. So another style of grouping or putting entities together is by creating a block out of them. Now, the difference between a group and a block is blocks are like uh, these become instances that you can repeat over uh, multiple areas of your drawing. So for example, we select both of them and we block it by invoking the command with B. So as you can see here, it says block. And then we need to give it a name. Let's call this the null symbol because it looks like a null symbol. And then you have a few options here. You can specify the base point, which let's choose now. So we want the center of the circle to be the base point. And then this asks us what happens to the objects that we have selected if they maintain their separation, or if we want it to become a block, or if we want it to be deleted, we can choose here. And then behavior, we have annotative, uniform scaling, and exploding capabilities. So right now, we picked the base point. That should be good enough. We want it converted to block, so we'll see the difference between that and this group we have right here. So as you can see, there is no bounding box here. It's fairly different from a group. And if we replicate them, all right, so these are now two groups. These, on the other hand, are the same block. So what does that mean? If we apply a change to one of the blocks, it gets reflected onto the other blocks. So, but we need to go into a block editor in order to do that. So if we wanted to make changes on a block, we just double click it to invoke the or edit the block definition. So you can see here. So let's say okay to that. And then we are directed into another zone of the drawing, which is basically it isolated this block from everything else. So what we have is just this block. So we'll create a change here. Let's remove a part of the line by trimming. Okay. And then let's leave one part of this in so that it looks nicer. All right. Then match property that. And when we're done editing the block, we can just close it. And then this dialog will come along. If we want to save the changes or discard it, of course, we go for change. As you can see, the change affected the other block. Now, groups, on the other hand, there's really no control over it. It's just it moves together. That's pretty much it. But right here, the computer sees this as 4 entities and 2 groups. The computer sees this as basically one block and 2 instances of the set block. So, for example, we copy this a million times, the computer will still just see it as a single block with a million instances. And instances have very little to no value inside of the file. So if for example, this is important when you're creating items in your drawing that are continuously coming up, like for example, a toilet fixture or a sink. or a bed. All of these can be made into blocks so that when you try and populate a plan with blocks, the impact on your file size is going to be very little. So, apart from the block command, there's also another way of creating a block by writing it out. What that means is the block will become a separate file from the file that you're working on, and then that separate file, if you edit that and you go back to your the drawing that uses that reference, as long as the references are intact, the changes on your written block, outside written block, will reflect onto your drawing when you refresh it. So let's see how that works. So this is the normal block. Let's explode that. So we can create a new block. Let's spin this around so that we can differentiate it. So we're gonna make a new block out of this using the write block command, which is a little bit different from the earlier block command. So write block is W, and then this dialog comes along. You can see that it's a little bit different from the original block flyout. Here, you identify the base point as per usual, and then convert to block. And then you have here, you have to name it because it will be placed where this location is stated. So let's say null v2. We'll put it on the import area in the insert scale of millimeters, and then say okay. So now we have the block here, but it also has been written into a file outside. Let me just pull it up here real quick because our timer has already run out for 12 minutes tonight. Primary and then import. So what did we call that again? We call that null v2. So it's here. There you go. Now v2, let's open it. So here it is. This is the file, null v2. So it's in the address that we indicated earlier. So that becomes an external reference within this file, not a block within this file. And how do we find that out? We try an insert command, which is I, that will show us the current blocks within this drawing, which is null and null v2. So at any point in time, if we wanted a null within our drawing, we can just click that and then create it one more time, or this one and create it one more time. Okay, so that's the time we have for tonight. I'll see you guys again on the next classroom where we will actually finish the organizational commands. See you then. Bye bye.